1 in the morning, and the dorm room upstairs was so noisy I couldn't sleep. I angrily grabbed my phone and let them have it in the dorm building's group chat. "Can room 601 please quiet down? Making so much noise in the middle of the night, how is anyone supposed to sleep?" The usually bustling group chat fell silent for a long while. No one said a word. After some time, someone replied, "There's no one living in 601 at all." "Hey, you must have misheard." Someone else typed, "Room 601 above you has always been an empty dorm. How could there be any noise?" Others from the 6th floor chimed in, "Yeah, that room hasn't been occupied for ages. I heard something bad happened in that room before, so the school has kept it vacant. If you don't believe me, look, 601 still has seals on the door." Then, that person sent a photo. The picture showed a dorm room door, upon which 2 seals adorned with strange symbols were pasted. The room number plate clearly read 601. A cold sweat broke out on my back. If there was no one upstairs, then what was that sound I had just heard? Instantly, people in the group chat started throwing out all sorts of terrifying speculations. Someone tried to calm things down. "Don't scare yourselves. The weather's terrible today. It might just be the strong wind, or maybe rats or something making those noises. That's all." Reading her words, my fear subsided considerably. Indeed, we lived in an old building. Moreover, the dorm room upstairs had been unoccupied for years. And today, a torrential downpour raged outside, the kind you only see once in decades. It was plausible that the wind, or perhaps some rats or other small animals, were responsible for the sounds. I put down my phone, tidied up a bit, and prepared to sleep. I pulled my blanket a bit tighter than usual. Just as I was about to drift off, a thump, thump, thump came from the door. I jumped. In the darkness, I stared intently at the dorm room door. I didn't dare get out of bed, much less open the door. "Lily," a voice called. "Open up. I forgot my key. Can you get the door for me?" That familiar voice. It was my roommate, Jade. Hadn't she gone home? Why was she back at this hour? I glanced at the time on my phone. 1:30 in the morning. My intention to get out of bed vanished. It was well past midnight. The main gate of the dorm building had been locked long ago, and the dorm matron, the kindly older woman who supervised the building, would be asleep. Even if she were awake, she wouldn't let someone who'd stayed out all night back in. So how did she get in? I stood there, thinking, hesitating about whether to open the door. Jade's voice came again. "Lily, what are you doing? I scraped my leg climbing in through the back gate just now." Her tone was tinged with urgency. "Hurry and open the door so I can come in and treat it." This time, I moved quickly, scrambling out of bed to open the door. When I opened it, Jade was standing there, a suitcase in hand. She was soaking wet, and a gash on her thigh was bleeding. I helped her bring her luggage inside, then guided her to her seat. Finding the first aid kit, I quickly bandaged her wound. While tending to her leg, I voiced my confusion. "Jade, didn't you say your bus was tomorrow morning? Why are you back in the middle of the night?" She didn't answer, just pulled something out of her bag and handed it to me with a smile. "These are apples from my hometown. They taste different. Try one." I thanked her and took it. The chill of the apple seeped into my fingertips. It was already summer. Even if it had been in the refrigerator, it wouldn't have felt this cold. Besides, it was such a long journey. It should have returned to room temperature long ago. Why was it still so cold? I casually placed the apple on the table, planning to eat it tomorrow. Seeing this, Jade suddenly stood up, rushed to the table, snatched the apple, and held it to my lips. "You have to eat it now." Her expression was somewhat ferocious as she glared at me. I was taken aback by her behavior, a little confused. What was the big deal if I ate it tomorrow? Why was she reacting so strongly? After a moment's thought, I had no choice but to take it to the sink to wash it. After all, we usually got along well, and I didn't want to hurt her feelings over this. While washing the apple, I glanced out the window. Seeing the dorm room across from us, the one with the colorful string lights, I frowned. Strange. That dorm with the lights had always been directly opposite ours. Why did it seem a bit lower today? I walked to the window and counted the floors from bottom to top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's not right. How am I on the 6th floor? A sinister voice drifted from behind me. "So, you found out." An ice-cold hand landed on my shoulder. I shivered reflexively. The hand was bone-chillingly cold, utterly devoid of warmth. Not like the hand of a living person. At this thought, I took a deep breath, spun around, pushed the person behind me away, and bolted. Just as I was about to reach the door, a burst of mocking laughter reached my ears. "Willie, I was just kidding with you. Look how scared you are. You're such a scaredy cat." I stopped in my tracks, finally realizing Jade was deliberately trying to frighten me. I touched my wildly pounding heart. The cold sweat on my body hadn't subsided. Remembering what I'd just seen, trembling, I pointed to the window, signaling her to look outside. "We're on the 6th floor now." Jade looked in the direction I was pointing. After a moment, she turned back to me with an exasperated look. "This is clearly the 5th floor." She added, "I think you've been under too much stress lately. You just need to get some rest." I tilted my head and looked again. This time, the lit-up dorm across the way looked different than it had moments before. It was indeed on the 5th floor. Could my eyes really have been playing tricks on me? I rubbed my eyes and looked several more times. Nothing changed. Convinced there was no issue, I walked back into the room. The moment my foot crossed the threshold, a thick, foul odor permeated the air. I couldn't help but gag. What was that smell? Pinching my nose, I searched for the source of the stench. After looking around, I finally discovered the noxious smell was emanating from the trash can. On top, there was a black, viscous, unidentifiable mass. It looked rather disgusting. That must be what was emitting the odor. I glanced at Jade with some annoyance. She had her back to me, sitting at her desk, fiddling with something. There were only the two of us in the room. It went without saying who had thrown it there. Yet she acted as if nothing was amiss, completely unconcerned, not even mentioning throwing something that reeked so badly. I tied up the garbage bag, pondering how to dispose of it. It was too late now, and with the torrential rain outside, it wasn't convenient for me to go downstairs and throw it out. But with such a strong smell, it couldn't be left in the room either. Forget sleeping. I wouldn't even be able to stand being in here. After mulling it over, I decided to place it outside the door in the hallway for now, and take it down with the rest of the trash in the morning. As I pushed open the dorm door, the creaking and groaning sounds were exceptionally jarring in the quiet hallway. I hesitated for a moment. The school had just replaced this door a few days ago, and I remembered it hadn't made any noise when Jade came back earlier. Why would it make such a sound now? A gust of chilly wind swept in, raising goosebumps all over my skin. I quickly placed the garbage bag by the dorm entrance and shut the door. Back in the room, my phone was buzzing incessantly on the table. I opened it to see it was the dorm building's group chat. Someone from room 604 was asking in the group, "Hey, 6th floor dorms, did any of you hear a noise just now?" Someone quickly replied, "I heard it. I was just about to fall asleep when some noise woke me up." Gradually, those who were still awake started chiming in, saying they'd heard noises in the 6th floor hallway. The sound was pretty scary. It seemed to be coming from the direction of room 601. Room 601 again. Was this dorm room really that cursed? I looked up at the ceiling. It had been quiet upstairs just now. None of the sounds they were describing. But with so many people claiming they heard it, it didn't seem like they were making it up. Some dorms, even those quite far from 601, could hear it. Then why hadn't I heard anything? "Jade," I asked, "did you hear any noise just now?" After waiting for a long while, there was no response. I turned to look. Her seat was empty. Strange, she had been sitting right there just a moment ago. How had she vanished in the blink of an eye? In the group chat, 604 suddenly proposed, "Anyone brave enough to go with me to check out 601? After a few minutes, no one in the group spoke up. Someone from a 6th floor dorm tried to dissuade him. "It's really creepy this late at night. Better not go. It wouldn't be good if something actually happened. Checking tomorrow morning isn't too late." 604 retorted dismissively. "What could happen? It's all just to scare people. Besides, there's strength in numbers. With so many of us, what's there to be afraid of?" He added, "If you guys aren't going, I'll go by myself." 604 left that message and then sent no more. It wasn't until over 10 minutes later that 604, who had gone out to investigate, posted a video in the group chat. In the video, the door of 601, which had been tightly locked, was now inexplicably ajar by a small crack. The paper seals on it, official strips used to close off rooms, in this case bearing unsettling symbols, were also torn, looking exceptionally eerie against the backdrop of the flashing lightning outside. 604 continued, "When I got here, the door was already open. I mustered the courage to peek inside just now. It was eerily gloomy, and I couldn't see a thing. Just as I was about to turn on my flashlight to look inside, the door to 601 suddenly slammed shut, and afterwards, I couldn't push it open, no matter how hard I tried." Instantly, the group chat erupted with terrifying speculations again. Could there really be something in 601? Everyone saw that door was locked tight just now. How could it open by itself? And there was no one inside to lock it. So how could it close on its own and then be impossible to push open? Someone started to question. 604, you're not trying to scare us on purpose, are you? Me? Scare you? You're not thinking before you speak. 604 shot back. Didn't you see in the video I took that 601's door was open? It's not like I could open that door. If you don't believe me, come out and see for yourself if you can push 601's door open now. It was clear that 604 was a bit angry. Seeing that things were about to escalate, the dorm matron spoke in the group chat. The maintenance department has been notified, and someone will come to repair it tomorrow morning. Don't spread rumors, don't talk nonsense, and everyone hurry back to your own dorms to sleep. This time, no one in the group dared to make a peep. The dorm matron had spoken, so no one dared to continue the discussion. As I read the messages in the group, my fear grew steadily. Could 601 really be haunted? Just then, a friend request popped up on my phone. It was from 604, the one who had just gone outside. I thought for a moment and accepted it. A message quickly appeared in the chat window. Hey there, has anything strange happened at your place? Her question caught me off guard. What strange thing could happen here? Didn't she go to check room 601? What did that have to do with me? Still, I politely asked her, why do you say that? 604 replied almost the instant I sent my message. Actually, when I shone my flashlight into 601 just now, I saw a foot on the balcony window, sole facing up, as if someone was hanging upside down on the balcony. Just as I was about to go in for a closer look, the dorm door suddenly closed. I didn't dare mention this in the group chat, partly because I was afraid people would overthink it, and partly because I feared I might have seen it wrong and caused unnecessary alarm. Your dorm is directly below 601, so I came to ask about your situation, if anything has happened. Someone hanging upside down? I turned to look at the window, and indeed, there was a round, dark silhouette visible on the upper part of the balcony window. My heart leaped into my throat. I quickly messaged 604. There really is a dark shadow outside the dorm window. From its shape, it looks like a head. She hurriedly reassured me. Don't be scared yet. Take a clear look. It's possible it's something else. I walked closer, getting a bit nearer. Upon closer inspection, it was a black plastic bag hanging there. I breathed a sigh of relief. I had indeed seen it wrong. After chatting with 604 for a while, I took off my shoes and got into bed. I wasn't planning on turning off the lights tonight. With so many scary things happening, I wouldn't dare sleep without some light. Halfway up the ladder to my bunk, the light overhead began to flicker, and after a few flickers, it went out. The room plunged into darkness. I lost my footing and almost fell off the bed. How did the power go out again? Our building often had this problem because of aging wiring. With today's extreme weather, it must have been caused by unstable voltage. But with the power out in the dorm building tonight, it seemed even more terrifying. I fumbled my way onto the bed in the dark, waiting for the power to be restored. After an unknown amount of time, I started to feel anxious. Usually during a power outage, the dorm matron would inform us within 10 minutes, and the power would be restored promptly within that time. Nearly 20 minutes had passed since it went out, and there was still no news. This power outage was lasting a bit long. Every second in the darkness amplified my unease. I really couldn't bear it any longer. In the group chat, I mentioned the dorm matron. Dorm matron, when will the power be back on? 602 was the first to reply. Is the power out? Our dorm still has electricity. Then several other people also said their dorms had power. So it meant only our dorm had a power outage. The dorm matron replied after a long time. There's no power outage in the dorm building. You can check your electricity bill. We had just paid the electricity bill for our dorm the day before yesterday. How could it be used up so quickly? I opened the electricity bill page, and sure enough, there was still a considerable balance remaining. I took a screenshot and sent it. Matron, our dorm hasn't defaulted on payment. Why is the power still out? This time, the matron replied quickly. Then it might be a problem with the light bulb or the circuit. I've already informed the maintenance department, and someone will go up to repair it tomorrow. What rotten luck. The circuit was broken too. I was already scared, and now there wasn't even a speck of light. Fortunately, I wasn't alone in the dorm tonight. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to sleep all night. But where had this Jade gone? She'd been gone for so long. In my peripheral vision, something beside me seemed to move. I turned my head to look and saw a figure on Jade's bed. I frowned slightly. When I got into bed, she hadn't been in the dorm. How had she suddenly appeared on her bed in the blink of an eye? And she'd gotten up there without making a sound. While I was still pondering, my phone screen lit up. It showed a message from Jade. I couldn't help but be startled and looked towards her bed with some confusion. This Jade, right there on the next bed. Why would she send a message? I opened the chat. Lily, are you okay in the dorm? The message read. I was just looking at the dorm building's group chat, and what they were saying was really scary. That dorm is right above ours, and you're there alone. I'm a bit worried about you. It seemed she was genuinely frightened by room 601, so much so that she didn't even dare to speak to me directly. I smiled and replied, Don't worry, I'm fine. Besides, I'm not alone in the dorm. Aren't you right here next to me? We're so close. You don't need to be scared. Next time, just tell me directly if something's up. This time, Jade didn't reply for several minutes. The screen just kept showing that she was typing. I turned my head to look at Jade's bed. What was going on? I had noticed earlier that while Jade was chatting with me, there was no typing motion, nor any light from a phone. I even felt like this message wasn't from her. Using the light from my phone screen, I shone it in her direction. In the faint light, I could see Jade clinging to the bed rail in a bizarre posture, looking towards me. I shuddered in fright and quickly pulled my hand back. It wasn't a posture a human could make. Her eyes were shrouded in shadow, completely obscured. I tentatively called out, Jade, what are you doing? Jade didn't react, just kept staring motionlessly in my direction. I sensed something was off. Although the phone's light was dim, it shouldn't have been so dark that I couldn't even see her eyes. Just then, the message Jade had been typing for ages finally came through. Lily, don't scare me. I'm at home. How could I possibly be next to you? Didn't I tell you I'm only coming back tomorrow? After reading Jade's message, my scalp instantly tingled with fear. My fingers flew across the keyboard, much faster than usual. Didn't you just come back? Didn't you say you wanted to return early and specifically caught a late bus? I hadn't even finished typing. Jade sent a video call request. My hand wouldn't stop trembling. The moment I answered, Jade's face appeared on the phone screen. I couldn't register what she was saying at all. My gaze was fixed on the clock beside her. 3:30. The same time. She wasn't lying. She really was at home. If Jade was at home, then who was this beside me? Just as I was about to speak, the video call suddenly disconnected. It showed network unavailable. My phone signal was gone. Our school is in the city center. How could there be no signal at all? But no matter how many times I tried, I couldn't connect. I lay frozen on the bed, too scared to move. This couldn't go on. I turned on my flashlight and shone it directly at Jade's bed. I saw Jade wrapped around the bed rail like an invertebrate. Dark red liquid was streaming from her eyes. Only then did I see clearly that her eyes weren't covered by shadows at all. Her once beautiful eyes were now just empty sockets. The eyeballs were gone, replaced by bloody hollows. Such a terrifying scene. I couldn't help but scream and quickly scrambled off the bed. As I ran out the door, I glanced back at Jade. She hadn't moved, still in the same posture. The door, just then, slowly closed. My legs gave way, and I collapsed to the floor. What on earth was that thing just now? How could she take on Jade's appearance? More and more terrifying thoughts flooded my mind. I picked up my phone, the light from its camera falling on the door. I could clearly see what was behind it. Torn paper seals were stuck to the door. These seals, often bearing official stamps, or in this case, unsettling symbols, were used to mark off limits or sealed premises. Weren't those the things from 601's door? How could they be here? Realizing something, I shot my head up. The room number plate starkly read 601. I stared wide-eyed in disbelief. So I had been inside room 601 all along. How was I in 601? Fear compelled me to leave quickly. I got up and fled, not stopping until I reached the last room on the 6th floor. After a moment's hesitation, I knocked on the door. A classmate of mine lived in this dorm. We usually got along quite well. I didn't dare stay in my dorm alone and planned to squeeze in with her for the night. On the third knock, the door creaked open on its own. The light from my hand shone into the dorm. Jade was facing me. Her eye sockets empty. In an instant, sweat drenched my entire body. How was this exactly the same as inside 601? I jerked my head up. The room number plate still read 601. The only difference was that this time she was clinging to my bunk. Only then did I see that the room numbers on the adjacent doors were also the same. Jade grinned at me, revealing her sharp teeth. Her mouth opened and closed, saying something. A low, guttural sound came from her throat. I clearly saw it mouth the words, "You can't escape." She stirred and slid off the bed. I stumbled back a few steps, then turned and ran. Running, I kept checking the room numbers, trying to find one that was different. 601, 601, 601. The entire floor was nothing but room 601. I desperately searched floor after floor. I don't know how long I ran. I simply couldn't run anymore. I draped myself over the railing, gasping for breath. Looking down, the original ground had vanished, replaced by an endless expanse of darkness. It was impossible to count how many floors there were, but I was certain it far exceeded the number of floors in our dorm building. My heart sank. This wasn't our dorm building at all. Where on earth was I? I leaned helplessly against the railing. Despair spread through me, until Jade suddenly crawled out of the dorm room in front of me. Terror-stricken, I turned and fled. It seemed she could move through every dorm room, meaning no floor was safe. I ran to the stairwell and rushed downwards. Something suddenly appeared on the stairs, blocking my path. It happened so suddenly, I stumbled. I lost my balance and fell to the ground. Looking up, Jade was sprawled in the middle of the staircase. Before I could react, a strong force grabbed me and dragged me off to who knows where. After a while, the person finally stopped. When I saw her face clearly, I found her somewhat familiar. She spoke, introducing herself. "I'm 604, the one you were chatting with earlier. I don't know what happened. I was sleeping, and when I opened my eyes again, I was here." 604? No wonder she looked familiar. I had just seen her photo in the group chat feed. I hadn't expected her to be brought to this god-forsaken place too. "This is an exit I just found. We can get back from here." Only then did I notice the dorm room before me. Its door was open. There was no room number plate, and it looked different from the other dorms. I cautiously sized up the room, but I remembered checking every room number on this floor, and there was no such room. "What are you standing there for?" she urged. "Hurry up and come in. If we don't go soon, it'll be too late." She reached out to pull me, but I dodged aside. I voiced my doubts. "How do you know this is an exit? Why should I believe you? If that thing could transform into Jade, then transforming into someone else wouldn't be difficult." 604 was taken aback by my question, but quickly regained her composure. "If you don't believe me, there's nothing I can do. I'm going then. Be careful. That monster might come." With that, she strode inside. My phone was dead. In the darkness, I couldn't see what was going on inside the room, or if she was still in there. After much thought, I decided not to go in yet. I turned to leave, but a large, seemingly rotten hand grabbed me. 604 emerged from the room, her expression suddenly contorting, her body twisting ceaselessly. I watched as her body grew relentlessly, like a monstrous beast. Beside her original head, another head sprouted, faceless. With only a mouth 3 times larger than a normal person's, chunks of skin slathered off her entire body, revealing rotting flesh underneath. Her neck, elongated by several meters, swaying continuously. It was an even more horrifying sight. It forcefully dragged me towards the room. Just as I was about to be pulled completely inside by her, at that critical moment, the anticipated pain didn't come. Instead, the sounds of a struggle erupted. I opened my eyes. I saw that Jade had somehow caught up and was now fighting with 604. But it was clear that 604 was losing. In the end, 604 was completely devoured by Jade. 604 was torn apart, her miserable shrieks echoing in the darkness. After dealing with 604, Jade locked onto me again, squirming as she crawled towards me. Suddenly, all the dorm room doors on the entire floor swung open. More and more Jades crawled out from the rooms. They were getting closer and closer. I don't know where the courage came from, but I stepped on one of the creatures and ran into an adjacent dorm room. A pungent, foul smell filled the air around me. I quickly bolted the door from the inside and barricaded it with everything movable in the dorm. After doing all this, I held a chair in my hands as a weapon. Soon, a cacophony of sounds came from outside, rising and falling. My grip on the chair tightened. After an unknown amount of time, the noisy banging on the door stopped. I didn't dare relax, staring at the door, sweat dripping from my forehead to the floor. Time ticked by, second by second. It was still completely silent outside. Had they left? Knock, knock, knock. The sound came from behind me. I turned around. Several Jades were plastered against the window, a mixture of snail-like slime and blood beneath them. They repeatedly slammed their heads against the glass, their heads visibly shattering. With each impact, chunks of bone fell off. With a bang, a large hole was smashed into the door behind me, and a mangled, bloody hand reached in. Then another hand smashed through, one after another. What should I do? The creatures on the window also started moving faster. Cracks had already appeared on the glass. I stood in the middle of the dorm room, with no way out. I was surrounded by them. Just then, shattering sounds came from both sides simultaneously, and a horde of creatures poured in, crawling towards me. I used all my strength, wielding the chair to fend off their approach. But 2 fists are no match for 4 hands, let alone when these weren't even human. They lunged at me. I reflexively shielded myself with my arms. No! After what felt like an eternity, I slowly opened my eyes. Jade's face was right in front of me, very close. I forcefully pushed her away and turned to run. I had barely taken a step when I fell heavily to the ground. It wasn't until several nurses came and forcibly held me down that I calmed down. From their explanations, I learned that I was in a hospital, not in that terrifying room 601. Had I escaped from that hellish place? I glanced at Jade sitting beside me, her eyes red-rimmed. And this Jade must be real, right? Seeing me stare at her, Jade threw herself onto me. "Lily," she cried, "you had me worried sick. You've been unconscious for 3 days. I was surprised. Unconscious? 3 days? Jade nodded. Yes, after the holiday ended, when the few of us came back, we saw you lying on the floor as soon as we entered the dorm. You nearly scared us to death. We immediately sent you to the hospital. Unconscious for 3 days? But wasn't I surrounded by those creatures? Could it be that it was all a dream I had while I was unconscious? A sharp pain shot through my arm. I lifted my arm to look. There was a large bruise on it. No! This was from when that thing was chasing me, when I fell. That wasn't a dream at all. It was real. I stared intently at my arm. Lily, Jade said gently, the doctor said it's a soft tissue contusion caused by you falling from the bed. You have them elsewhere on your body too. Hearing her say that, my heart relaxed a little. True, falling from such a high bed, how could I not be injured? I checked, and indeed, there were several other similar marks on my body, and so I spent a week recuperating peacefully in the hospital. Back in the dorm, I sat at my desk, recalling everything that had happened that night. I searched through my chat logs. No one had spoken in the dorm building's group chat that day. My conversation with 603 had also completely vanished. I hadn't even added her as a friend. After returning, I inquired. Room 601 was indeed an empty dorm, but there was nothing strange about it. It was simply vacant because there were fewer students staying. When I came to my senses, I was already standing at the door of 601. There were no familiar seals on the door. It opened with a gentle push. A thick layer of dust covered the desk, indicating no one had been there for a long time. It seemed that day really was just a dream I had. I stood on the balcony, lost in thought, when a hand from behind offered me an apple. These are apples from my hometown. Try one. I was just about to take a bite when something suddenly occurred to me. My hand trembled and the apple rolled to the floor. I turned my head in disbelief. Jade had that familiar smile on her face, grinning at me sinisterly. This time, you must eat it.